Okay, this tutorial is a demonstration of a simple website built with the Baserow application builder. You can see we have a home page here, displays some images in nice column layouts. We've got a header up here with an image. All this is fictitious information, and these images were created entirely using Gemini or ChatGPT. Um, so no real personal information here. There's a page about instructors, and this page is dynamically generated from the database that we previously created for the teacher search application that allowed users to um, select a style of music and instrument and days of the week. So that's all tied in here with the website, and we can connect that with the website. There's an about page, and most of the rest of this is just some simple layout with some text and headers and so on. Same thing with recital. The idea is to create pages that adjust nicely when they're on different screens. So you can see when we uh, resize this, there are a different number of items shown on each row. Um, and all of these columns and bits of text rearrange responsively so that they appear on a tablet and a phone and a desktop differently. So these are all just sort of content pages using text that I created with GPT. And then you can see we've got a menu that has a little drop down, a sub menu. So we can select some more content here and a FAQ page, and then finally a contact page. And since we now have a contact application, we could just insert that here in an iframe or link to that URL where the contact page exists, and then link back to this page from the application. Either way works. So let's take a look at how to rebuild this. First of all, um, instead of creating a new project, we've got our new creation here in this tab and our existing website in this tab. You can see I've got this in a uh, workspace that is all alone. What we're going to do here is actually rebuild this in the uh, existing tutorial schedules workspace, which we created for the application that searched teachers, because we want to use this database. We could choose to export this and combine them into another workspace, but I think we'll just go ahead and get a start here. We're going to create a new application so that we can work with the same data that's in the schedules, used in the schedules application. So we'll add a new application. Let's call this website. And we get our default page. Let's take a look at what we've got here. There is a header, a multi-page header. So I'm going to choose the containing folder there. You can see that's a container. And as always, I like to put everything in containers and columns so that if I do need to move things around or add things to the left or right side, it's a little bit easier to do later on. Don't have to delete anything and add anything to a new container. So let's go ahead and add a multi-page container. We've got an image and we've got a menu in that container. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete what we're dealing with here, this default bit of text and layout. We'll create a multi-page header. And just by default, it's always a good idea to stick that in a container, to stick our content in a container. And I always like to nest a multi-column layout inside that container and generally lay out all my content inside those containers. And inside this, we're going to add the image. So let's get our image uploaded. And we could use a URL if we wanted, but we've got this here. That's the right one. Not so great a generated image, but just a quick ChatGPT generation, which provided us something to put on the screen. Okay, now above this, inside the multi-page header, we're going to add a menu. So that menu is going to link to all of the pages. Right now, we only have this home page. So I'm going to go ahead and add a link. We'll adjust this to say home. And we're going to navigate to the home page. Okay, so we've got this default examples page. Let's delete that. And we're going to add some new pages. So I know we had a teachers page. Um, there was somewhere we had an about us page. And let's see, what else do we have? We had a contact us page. And let's try this again. Add new page. Contact. Let's see, what else do we have? We had an FAQ page. Just sort of doing this from memory. Doesn't really matter what order they're in. And we had a recitals page. Let's see here. What else do we have? Homepage, teachers, recitals, lessons and programs, FAQ, about us, and contact us. Okay, so we need a lessons and programs page, and we should be done here. I think really the only thing we're going to see new here is how to do some things with this menu. So let's go ahead and adjust that. I think I want to center that. And maybe I want the font to be just a little bit bigger. So let's do this. I think I like having a decent sized font there. I'm not sure what the original font was, but that'll just set it out a little bit bigger. Let's take a look at how we built that on the original page. Um, Vertical alignment. The font here was 13 pixels. Okay, that looks good. You can see the style here. Let's talk about styling. So you've been watching me in all these other videos. Click on these uh, styles, and then also um, click on the style overrides or the theme overrides. Those themes are set in the application settings. So if you click on the application here for website settings, uh, you can also choose a favicon, and then choose the domains that you're going to use for the application. We've seen in the past you can set up user sources, and then finally down here we have a theme. So these are all the default themes for the application. You can choose to set those here and set their transparencies, or just set them with a value. You can add a custom color and give it a name. And you have the same sorts of settings for page. And so let's go ahead and look at this. As here you can see I've got sort of a light greenish color in the original application. I'm going to go to settings here and look at my theme, look at the page settings, look at the custom value, and let's see, getting here, custom color, and copy this thing. I'm not sure if that's actually the value, but let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that doesn't look right to me. So we'll just go ahead and copy it visually. Let's see about where the settings are. We've got somewhere down here by the yellow and green, and then up to the left. Let's see if we can copy that closely. I think we've got this and something like that. That looks good. So we can get this here. That looks good. Okay. And we can make changes to the entire theme for the website here. You can change your body and header fonts. and colors and so on there. You can do the same thing for all the other sorts of um, widgets that are put on screen, buttons, links, input widgets, and images and tables. So you've seen in previous tutorials how we've set the even row colors and adjusted the separators. Let's go ahead and do that here. We're just going to make a default um, color for the separator, and we'll say we want that to be 1 pixel. I tend to like a little bit of a vertical line in the grids. Okay, so that's how themes work for the overall layout in any sort of application. Okay, so now we're back to this menu. We've added a number of pages. I'll reset the size here, and we're going to go ahead and add menu items. So for each of these menu items, you can choose to add either a link, a button, a separator, or a spacer, just to lay things out the way uh, we want. You can see you get a separator up there. And so what we want to do is uh, have a link to each page. So we'll call this next link teachers, and we'll have that link to the teachers page. And then let's see, the order we had in our original layout was home, teachers, about, recitals. Let's take a look at that here. Home, teachers, we'll add a new link. Call this about. So you can see I can click on this and I can sort of open and close each link to change what the settings are for that link. We'll call this one about. So that's what the text that appears in the menu up above. And this will link to our about page. Home teachers about recitals. Add one more link up top. And let's see here. That's now, and if we need to drag things around, just to be clear, we can, in all of Baserow, you can grab these little dotted corners and sort of slide things around. So that makes it a little bit easier to grab. And on uh, my little laptop here, I can't do it, but typically you can just sort of grab this and drag it, and you can change the order of any of those items. I'm going to change this page to say recital. It's a label. And that's another link. And we're going to go to the recitals page. And let's just make that recitals also. Okay, and finally, we have a little drop-down menu. So the way we do this is we create a additional link. I'm going to close these up here so it's clear you can kind of pop these things open and close. Makes it a little easier to see what you're working on. Call this more. And instead of making that an actual link, what we're going to do is just add a sublink. Okay, so now you see when we've added a sublink, you get a little drop-down arrow here. And our sublink, we want to have an FAQ page, and that should link to the FAQ page. And then let's see, we want to add, let's close that back up. Let's see, here we have more. Let's add another sublink. And we want to have programs. Try this one more time, programs. And that will navigate to the lessons and programs page. And then finally, we have a contact page. And that will link to the contact page. Now we could also choose just to open that URL of the application we wrote for Contact Us. So if I wanted to grab that URL, I could go here, get my URL. For now, we'll leave this here. We'll have it apply to the page. You can also add a link to that page or include it in an iframe. So a lot of ways to get that external contact into the application. So I think let's close this up. I think we've got a nice looking menu here. It looks right so far. Let's go ahead and preview this. And we'll open up directly that page, and now you can see, boom, we've got a FAQ. Let's go here, and you can see it will link to the FAQ page, and it will link to the programs page, and it will link to the context page. And then on the main header up here, we've got recitals about, see if that one's working good, teachers and home. Okay, so looks like we're good. Let's take a look at what we've got on this page. So if we look below, we've got a nice little um, header. And this is something you can do if you want to add just a little bit of graphic enhancement to the layout without having to really do a lot of layout effort. This is an emoji. It's a text character. So you can see I can grab this text, and you can get emojis for just about any purpose just by going to Google and looking up something that you want uh, to represent in the text header. So you see it copied that character. And if I want to get a particular emoji, let's say I want to get a music emoji, you can go to any one of these uh, places and look up a musical emoji. And there we go. We've got a copy option to copy that character. And you can paste that then directly into a text field. And there's that character. Okay, so let's see what we have next. We're going to add a container here. And inside that container, we're going to put some columns. And on the left-hand side of the column, we're going to have some images. And the right-hand side will have some text with some markdown. So let's get that started. Add a container here. And honestly, what I should have done is put this header inside the container, but I was just kind of moving ahead. So we're going to add that container now. That way we don't have to make a bunch of adjustments to a whole bunch of items on the page. And stick our columns inside, make that a layout of two columns. And on the left side, put an image. Let's upload an image here. I think I've got these here on the hard drive now. So upload that. We'll use whatever we need to here just to, oh, no, that's not it. Let's try uploading another one. Do image doesn't really matter here because we're just trying to display how to, or demonstrate how to do this. But if I do date modified here, see if that's the right one. Does not look like the right one. Let's do one more. Do. That also doesn't look like the right one. I'm going to search a little more here just so we've got a nice image to display in our work we're doing here. In fact, you know what I'll do is display the layout like this. Okay, that should work. Get that one uploaded. Perfect. Now we're going to add some text. And for this text, we're going to use Markdown. And you can look online for Markdown just to see how this works. The Markdown guide will sort of get you started, that syntax. So you can set different levels of headers, so different sizes of text, H1, H2, and H3 using pound symbols, bold text using a couple asterisks, italicize it using a single asterisk. You can put numbers to get ordered lists and dashes to get uh, just dashed lists, and then you can have code and horizontal ruling, and links are very easy to do. Just give the text that you want inside square brackets and the actual address the link should go to inside parentheses. Images are similarly easy. just a exclamation point and some an image URL. And there's all sorts of additional layouts. You can make tables and do footnotes and that sort of thing. So even checked lists. So when you've seen emojis, you can just pop the text for an emoji in. Okay, so let's get back to doing that. We'll add some markdown text here. You can see I've got a sort of a second level header and then the third level header here. Didn't mean to do this. Not sure if I actually grabbed that or not. Boom. No, I did not. Um, so what I'm going to do is go to website example and grab the text from here, and we will reformat this text. My Butterfingers managed to slip off of that. So let's see if we can redo this thing here. And we'll reset this. So I'm just going to put the double asterisk here and the triple pound sign here. That looks good. And we'll copy that. Bring it over into our new copied version, and we've got a duplicate layout. Okay, so now it looks like we've got another similar layout here, another image, another little bit of text. Let's grab this text. So you can see here I actually did two little sections with the triple pound sign. So what we're going to do inside our container, get into our container here, add another element inside the container. Let's add this below, and we'll put in, and actually we don't want the image directly. What we want to do is directly below that, we want to put another column widget. So let's see if we can do that, get it in the right place. It's a little tough to grab this. Let's try another column here. Do good. Okay, so we've got columns. Make that two columns. We'll add another image. Upload this file. I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible because what we really want to get to is the teachers page where we're going to pull some information from the database. So just so you can see how all this sort of layout is created, put the markdown in here that we copied. Make sure this is showing markdown. There we go. Now we got some nice displayed text. And let's see what we have next here. Next we have, okay, so now we have some text and then columns. Text and then columns and then an image and then some more text. So let's just do this. So you can see we're just sort of stacking. And to make sure this makes sense, the way that the layouts all work is that anytime you add a layout, it is vertical. They're all added vertically. So here you can see that's been added vertically. It looks like I need to do a little bit of formatting here. I think this should be centered. So let's go and change I could do this right on the theme sheet, but we only got a couple here. So I think in general, I'll typically want to put images centered. Okay, so after our last bit of text, we're going to add another column. And we have two more sections of text to fit within that column. So let's take a look here and grab some of that text now. One on this side. And pop it over. I'll change this to two columns also. Hopefully this is giving you a sense of just how to lay things out in general. Add that text here. Grab a little more for this one, just so you can see everything from the ground up. More text. And most websites are going to have a lot of this sort of just static information on the page. And we got a little bit more to do here. Let's grab one more image and then one more little bit of text. And we should be done at that point. So these are not going in columns. We're just adding, oops, these are adding to the bottom of the screen. So we can go to the bottom of this column here and add another image. Let's upload a file for that. Do I think this one? Good. And let's go ahead and center that. And finally, one more little block of text on the bottom with markdown formatting. And we have now duplicated our page. And we can see how it looks in tablet format. So everything is laid out with a little bit different styling and arrangement and padding and formatting. And then on a phone, you can see the image is smaller. I still have that menu appearing across the top, and then all those columns are rearranged vertically so that they're not squished onto the page side by side. And Baserow takes care of doing all of that for us. We just put some things into columns and they're automatically arranged when the page size is too small. Okay, so great. We've got the homepage done. And now for teachers, what we're going to do here is grab the images and the information about each of the instructors from the database. So let's get a couple of these little bits here. I think we have it looks like we're going to have some sort of container. There we go. Container, and then I have some columns, text, and then the repeating widget. So let's grab our text, our instructors. And again, that has an emoji. Try this one more time. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is add a container so we don't have to go setting sizes. And if we want to move things around, we can do this. Instead of having to individually adjust properties for each item, we can do that. And I will typically put a set of columns inside that too, just because it gives us some more flexibility if we need to move things around later. Okay, so first thing is a heading, lamb, and then next we're going to include I guess we will include some text. Copy that from our existing page. Paste it in. This should be getting really straightforward at this point. And then finally, we're going to add a repeat widget. Okay, so what the repeat widget does is it lets us create something like cards. People call these things different things. I think cards is a common term. A repeating panel is another common term. The idea is if you imagine going to Amazon and you pull up a bunch of items, you're going to see those things not in a grid like a table, but you're going to see nicely laid out cards that all have a similar layout. You're going to see a picture and a link to another page, and some information about the item, all in a similar layout. And that's what this repeat panel lets you do. It lets you pull out information from a data source and arrange it on the page in these card-like layouts, repeating cards. So first thing we need to do is get a data source. Let's add a data source. And if you remember, we're building this website in in the table, or sorry, in the project, the workspace where we have our schedules database from the previous um, application that looked up teachers. So I'm going to use this grid, and we can add a filter here. Let's filter this data. I want to say, for example, where availability is not, um, let's see, I don't know if we want to say doesn't have, we'll just say is not empty. Okay, so we've got a nice little filter, and you can make those filters as complex as you need and use multiple filter steps so that you get exactly the data you need from the database. Very, very simple way to do this. So now we're going to use that data source. Um, we are not going to enter a show more label. What that does is if you have more than the maximum items per page, you'll get a little button on the bottom that just says show more. And you can put whatever text you want there. See more teachers or something of that sort if we were to have more than 20. And you can set that to only show 2 or 3 here and have a more pop up. Makes it faster to load. Okay. Um, so we've got our data source. And now what we do is within this repeating panel, we treat it as if it's a single panel, but every one of these repeating cards will have the same layout. So in our repeating panel here, I've got an image, some text, and it looks like the styling here is a little bit different. Let's take a look at that styling. I've got a background color and it's white, so that's why that stands out as white. And then we've got some more bits of text here, and they're all pulling out values from the data source. So styles and so on. Okay, so let's see if we can build that from memory now. Image, and what we're going to do is set the URL to be from our data source. The image, we're going to get this from all the cards, and we're going to get the URL value. Here we go. Now you can see we've populated all of the images from all the rows in that database table. And if you haven't seen this database table, this is in a tutorial several back. Okay, so I'm going to do one thing here. I'm also going to style this. Let's see here. Actually, I'm going to go back to my general and adjust the theme defaults. Override this with a border radius of 20. You can see that makes a nice border radius. I think actually I've done that on all of the pages, on all the images, just to make a little rounder presentation. Okay, so now we're building this card, and each one of these cards are going to have the same layout. So next, let's see again how we did that. Was that text? Yes, it was text. And I think it's important to see this again. I mentioned it in a previous tutorial, but when you're entering text, you can add a combination of static text. So you can see if I type the word in name, it is now putting the word name below every teacher image, and I can combine that with some dynamic values from the database. So um, let's get their name. And so now you can see it says name, Joe Blow. What we're actually going to do here is, since we're going to use Markdown here, I'm going to put some static text with just some Markdown code, and it makes that a little bigger. So for each of these, what's happening is this value is being populated by those 2 asterisks and then the two pound signs, and then the name value from each row of the database. Okay, so let's build a little bit more of this card. Below the name, we're going to enter some text. And oh, it looks like I'm going to want to do some styling here. But let's grab this. We're getting the instruments, the styles, and the notes. So let's do that for each of these cases. We'll do, I think what we can actually do here is do this all at once. So do instruments. The value. There we go. And let's see if we can do enter, and we'll get the um, style value from each row in this table. Okay, so we got the value, but it's on the same line. So what I'm going to do is turn this into a little bit of markdown, and I'm going to put a 4 stars there. That's, like I said, 4 stars. And I'll put 4 stars here too. Now that automatically will put this on another line. Beautiful. And then um, finally, let's do the same thing here. We want to get the data source for um, what else do we want to look at here? We want to get instruments, their styles, and the notes about that particular teacher. Good, and you can see that they're slightly different styles because they have different markdown codes in front of them. Okay, and let's go ahead and center this text. And uh, because that's a header, it is not going to let us do this. So I think what we're going to need to do, oh, no, there we go. That's good. It looks like that's going to work. There we go. Okay, so now everything is centered. Uh, let's make this bolded, which we can do with some asterisks. Sure. So the easy way to do this would simply to be to a take this text and put it in a separate text field, which is what I did in the original page. And then I could adjust the spacing between lines, but this is working just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say we want name instruments. So we want instruments here. Get all those instrument values. There we go. That's looking good. But now what we're going to do, and I'm just going to kind of change this so you can see what's happening here. What we're going to do for this card, for this repeating element, is instead of having them line up vertically, I'm going to line them horizontally. And when we're on a desktop page, I'm going to have 3 columns. On a tablet, I'll have 2, and on a phone or a small device, I'll have 1. And so now we have a little bit of a mess here. You can see within the cards, we're going to want to center everything. So let's go ahead and do that first. Center this image. There we go. And then we'll also center this text. And, that's for body text. So we have some sort of header size here that we need to center. There we go. Okay, and we could also, of course, if we wanted to change colors and so forth, we could do that just for the heck of it. Let's go ahead and do that. Worked out there. And I move that around so I can move, just like I can on a page, I can move things around. So if I wanted to put this up above, I could do that and move it back down. It's important for moving things on a page. And I think in our original here, we had, let's see what we've got here. I think for this text, I chose a color background and left it white. There we go. I think that's close to what we had in the first, and we can see how it looks on the tablet, and we can see how it looks on the phone. This all looks good. I think we can call that done for now. Let's give it a preview and take a look how that appears. Okay, so significantly different, and there are a couple of things I can see right away. We had some separation on the original page, so let's style this a bit more, and let's go into the repeating panel so we can adjust the style for each of these. Um, and also, I can tell that we had this entire container. Um, let's find the outer container. And again, the way to do this is grab something and then click on the select parent, and you'll get to the final outer container there. And change that style and make it either small or medium. I think small may be good. Let's see how we had that set up here. Um, so again, I'm going to go to the outside container here, go to the columns, and change that style. Yeah, it was medium. So we're just trying to duplicate as much as we can. Now we want to get into see, I'm on the container right now. I want to click on the columns, and then inside that, click to get into the repeating panel. There we go. And we have some options right here. Let's say we'll put 10 pixels in between horizontally and 10 vertically. That should break things up nicely. And I may even want to style this with just a little bit of color. So let's do that. That's nice, but not quite what I want. Let's see if we can do something really quickly here that builds a nice sort of offset for each of these cards. And actually, it looks like we're going to want to do that with every individual card. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Um, that's the background for the entire card. I don't want that. I'm going to set that to none. And then, aha, can also see there's one additional thing we want to do here. Sort of a um, subtle thing, but if you look at our columns here, I've got these little lines that sort of frame that whole section. And so what's going on there is I added a top border um, and set that size to 1. And then I set a left border to 1. Now, if you look at that on the page, you've got this nice little frame. Let's do that same thing on our home page. It appears that I've managed to delete this entire section. So take a look up here. And I have managed to delete that, it appears. So very important to make changes, breaking changes along the way, breakpoints. Let's see if I actually did do this. Yeah, it appears that I did. So that's okay. You've seen how the layout was presented. I'm not going to worry about getting that back right now. I just want to finish this repeating page. And it looks like we're good. The only really big difference here um, is that the page is centered and that these repeats have a nice break in between them. So let's go ahead and take a look at the preview. The only thing that I really see here that needs to be changed is the header needs to be centered. So we'll do this. The image actually. Control 0 and get this back to normal size and we'll center it. So that's it. I think we've got a good layout at this point. Very similar to what we were seeing from the original web page. Okay. And now we've got a nice little border around the kind of framing that section. Okay, so I think that's good enough to kind of see how it works in general. And there is our original layout. the frame. So what we need to do is create one more page. Uh, what we're going to do there is kind of deal with this contact page. So on the original site, the contact page was just a little bit of text, but we now have a contact page that we can deal with. We could take some of this, some of this information here, but what I'm going to do is instead use our existing contact page. So let's go down here, look at our contact page. And what we're going to do is for this, I want to use our application that we've created. So I'm going to add an iframe. We've seen this in the past. We've inserted forms in the past that we create, but we can also additionally create an iframe with an application in it. So I'm going to go up to this tutorial that we had previously. This was the contact form tutorial. I'll open that up and I get the link for this. So let's go like we're going to publish it. So this is our contact form from a separate um, separate tutorial. We're going to go back over here and in this iframe, all you do to insert anything from another page is put the URL in and set the height that you want it to take up on the page. Kind of set that so it's equal to what the other page is. So that's great. We got the page, only it looks like you don't really need the header here. So let's go back to our contact form here and we'll create a duplicate of it. I don't want to change that form because I might want to use that just as a contact page somewhere else as a standalone. It'll link people to it. So we'll create another contact form. It's contact form 2. And let's give this page a file path of form 2. Okay, and what we're going to do with this form 2, let's check that again. It looked like we need a dash in front of it, form 2. Okay, great. That's been saved. So what we can do if we publish this and we go to the site and we put that little form 2 at the end of the address, we're going to see we have now an additional page. Looks the same, but in order to get rid of that header, I'm now on the form 2 page and I'm just going to delete this lamb. Let's publish it again. And now if we go back to our form 2 page, you're going to see we have a page that doesn't have a header. And you can see here there's no header. And if we just put that URL in our iframe, we should get a nice layout that just fits on the page as if we had built it right there. So very simple and easy to do. And there are a couple ways we could do this. We could also additionally include a link to the form page directly on the site and maybe just include a link on the form back to the site. So it would just switch over to that page and then you can come back to the site. Additionally, we could do another little trick with the database. So we took a lot of time to sort of style this form in the last tutorial. And we built it. And that's the whole idea of developing these web apps. So of course we're creating a website here. Websites I think of as being more static in general and generally geared towards advertising. Putting up maybe an event site. You can present data, but it's really more about presenting some information. In general, what the application builder in Baserow is meant to do is provide very specific access to information in the database, information which can be filtered and sorted and grouped and have logic applied to those rows. So you can also authenticate, as you've seen in the other tutorials, so that only credentialed users can gain access to any bit of data. So it's meant to create web applications. And as we go on to the future tutorials, you're going to see that we can uh, use other development platforms, including other no-code platforms like N8N, but also any programming language at all, or any development tools at all, which can connect to a web API or REST API. And then we can insert those applications that we create, which connect to our Baserow database via the web API, and we can insert them into iframes so they look like they're just part of the application. So it makes it really easy to extend Baserow applications because you can access the database via the API, perform whatever computations you want, use any Python code to do anything with that data, and sort of map or create some sort of game that uses that data, do anything you want, output that data in a very simple little app into a web page interface, and then just insert that web page interface into the Baser application. And that leads to an unlimited amount of flexibility, and you can use any tools, including open source tools. So we'll cover all that in future tutorials, but this sort of lays the groundwork for doing that. One other way that we could create this form very easily is just to go into the schedules database, and actually not the schedules database. We could go into let's go ahead and do it. We can go into the tutorial we created for contact form. We can get this contact us database view, and we can we've done this in a previous tutorial, create a form for it. Okay, and then we can select any of the fields we want. I just added them all. Name, message, email, opt-in, phone, preferred, and we can, of course, edit those fields and call this preferred contact method. So this is what appears on the form. And we can choose whether they're required and choose whether we want to have all the options shown, and show a message when we're done. Just type in thank you. Message submitted. Go. And show that message, and then share the form. Boom, create a private link. You've seen this before, but worth seeing again. Let's go over to our application, go back over into our website, go onto our contact page, and we've already got this form that we created as an app. But additionally, if we wanted, we could add another, just for the point of demonstration here, I'm going to add another iframe. And in this iframe, what we're going to do is put the URL for this automatically created form. We'll make this also a certain number of pages in there. Very, very simple way to create a contact form. Only takes a minute. You create the database, create the form, and this is a super powerful feature of Baserow, because if you remember all the work we did to build this form, if all we want to do is create a form that users can use to enter data, this is all that's needed. I'll make this a little bigger so we see the entire form. Here we go. And that's as much work as it takes. As you go into the database table that you want to create a form for, you click on the view, you add another form, and you can do as many of these as you want. You could have different versions of this form that just have maybe name and message, for example. And share that view, and then you can show it in a iframe URL. Okay, so we're going to just sort of clear this up. I'm going to go ahead and use the one that we created. And here, I think I'm going to change the height of that so that it's only what we actually need. That looks good right there. And the rest of the pages in this application are just basic layouts. And you've already seen how I created that on the home page and what we did to create the teachers page. So more of the same. We're going to have, on each of these, you're going to see some, header text with a little emoji and then some text and images. And I did around the corners. Let's go ahead and do that here. And I have to get that back, so I'm not going to worry about that now. We did do it on the teacher's page, so you see to do that nice rounding, you just go into the style and you can change um, the corner radius. And actually, I think what we did for this was um, we went to general and clicked on the theme overrides, and yeah, we changed the border radius to 20. Okay, so that should give enough of an introduction to how to do these layouts, how to do the menu, how to create a shared header, how to create a page that has nice responsive columns and rows of information and um, styled text using markup, and then a layout for the rows in the database, which appear as cards or, you know, uh, nicely uh, formatted, consistent, repeating panels. And all you do is fill it with the data. Um, so I think we can call this tutorial done. I will add a link for an exported version of this so you can see exactly all the details. If you want to check out any of the little details, if there's anything else there that, uh, you know, that might have been interesting. Um, so thanks again for watching. We'll move on with some um, more advanced techniques next time. We're going to start using third-party programming tools, Python, uh, N8N, which is a fantastic no-code building system to connect data with other services and to perform computations on data. Um, and we'll start building those applications and inserting them in Baserow applications. They'll connect to the database, and we'll do more building like this so you can see how you can really start to add any sort of imaginable functionality. At this point, I think you've had a good overall um, introduction to how both the Baserow database and the builder works. You've seen everything about styling. You can create pages, and you can use data from the database, which goes a long way to being able to build projects. And everything after that will be about connecting third-party programming languages, separate programming languages, and we'll use a couple of different programming languages so you can see um, how to connect those things and include those extensions directly in your Baserow apps. So thanks again. See you in the next tutorial.